Perfect Blue is the first feature-length film directed by the late Satoshi Kon, released in 1997, based on Yoshikazu Takeuchi's novel of the same title. Perfect Blue is a suspenseful, dizzying film that looks into the horror of parasocialism, sexualization, expectations, and the disassociation from oneself. Perfect Blue follows our protagonist Mima Kirigoe, once a member of cutesy J-pop idol group Cham, now a novice actress trying to bloom into a new mature image. We see the struggles of Mima finding her voice while also balancing what people expect of her. From the beginning of the film, we get an idea that Mima has a hectic life that she struggles to keep up with, but her lack of grounding only gets worse as it goes on. As she constantly finds herself grappling with the idea of what is real and what is fake, she even questions if she herself is truly who she believes she is. She is constantly seeing a taunting, pure idol version of herself. This is all caused by her stalker, Mimania, his site Mima's Room, and her manager, Rumi, fighting against the new image that Mima is to take on. We see Rumi's discontentment and discomfort at Mima becoming an actress from the beginning, but it only worsens as the roles and activities Mima takes on become more and more explicit. But this only comes off as Rumi looking out for Mima in a motherly figure type sense. Of course, towards the end of the film, we learn that Rumi only fought so hard for this image because of her desire to live out her failed dream through Mima, using Mimania as a way to remove the fake Mima because she's tarnished and dirty, and only making Rumi's projections more and more impossible to maintain, leading to a chase scene that has Mima fighting for her life against the delusional Rumi, who even Mima is still struggling to see as her manager and not the judgmental pure idol image that constantly haunts her. Yet her and Rumi's reflection in the window is enough to snap her out of her haze and make her realize she is the real Mima, giving her the strength to subdue Rumi. In the end, Rumi never breaks from her delusion, still dreaming of that spotlight, even the asylum where she seems to have fully taken on the idol Mima persona, while Mima grows into herself, becoming perfectly aware that she is the real Mima Kirigoe. Art direction. Perfect Blue really shines when it comes to its use of mise-en-scene and verisimilitude. Perfect Blue is an anime film, but it is nowhere near the hyper-stylized animation we typically see come from Japan. Instead, we're given characters that feel more grounded in our reality. The film even pokes at this itself by starting with a bait-and-switch-esque Super Sentai opening that switches to the true dullness of the real world, and having a scene in the anime store that shows just how ridiculous their world looks next to the typical anime style of the 90s. Everybody exists, and they exist as normal people would. Some are beautiful, some are not. Some are fat, some are skinny. Everything that happens to Mima is something that could happen to anyone with a dedicated following. Moving on to the mise-en-scene of the movie, despite the film being called Perfect Blue, it revolves heavily around the color red. It's a constant bright warning sign that this world is dangerous, as even Mima's own room is covered in the color, potentially a nod to how her room would become one of her own hells as the film goes on. The climax also portrays Rumi in a red dress as her idol Mima persona. This color is not supposed to bring you feelings of ease. The cinematography and editing revolves a lot around bait and switching. Shots quickly change to what parallels it, scenes coming off as real when they're actually fake. The switching becomes so constant that it becomes hard for Mima, and even the audience, to keep up with what's going on. It's a psychological struggle shown through quick shots and even quicker transitions. When the camera is on Mima, it revolves around a lot of mirror shots and over-the-shoulder shots to show this other self that Mima is constantly haunted by. The movie isn't lacking in panning or establishing shots either, as her small world always seems so big and new in her constantly changing headspace. Lastly, the motifs. Besides the color red, there are many and more themes and motifs in the movie. An important one being Mima's room, and how as her mental state begins to worsen, her room becomes more disheveled. It sort of feels like it's burying her in the stress of it all. Another being her fish, which constantly floats between being dead or alive, at one point being the tip of the iceberg to make Mima admit that she doesn't want to do what she's being told to do. And lastly, the idea of purity, idolization, and the spotlight. We see Mima engage in scenes and jobs that taint her, acting out a rape scene, agreeing to new photography, and wearing more mature clothing. This is taking her out of the adoring light that we typically see a sweet idol in, and instead placing her under the harsher lights of an actress. The spotlight is constantly referenced throughout the film, as it is a way to show the light always being placed on her life. In the end, that light being the one thing Rumi was hoping to chase again.